Morning world, it's the 19th of February 2019. It's about 8:30 in the morning UK time, and later today it is the full moon. It's full moon around about somewhere between 10 to 4 and 4 p.m. in the afternoon UK time. But the full moon itself is quite a positive one. But the aspects that are going on in the sky do bear looking at, particularly in light of what's going on in the world. Every planet in the sky, bar one, is in part of a conjunction with another planet. Now this is a relatively unusual position in that there's a lot of trigger points happening right now. So where do we start with this? Well, first of all, let's just look at the full moon. The full moon is at 0 degrees of Virgo. That's because the sun is at 0 degrees of Pisces. And both the sun and the moon are in really positive aspect to the conjunction of Mars and Uranus. Mars is now at the very start of Taurus, 2-3 degrees. Uranus is at 29 degrees of Aries. This conjunction of Mars and Uranus is still going on, even though there's a sign cusp in between them, and it will continue for another 2 or 3 days until Mars eventually pulls away into Taurus, with Uranus not moving into Taurus for another couple of weeks yet. But with the trine from the full moon to both Mars and Uranus, and the sextile from the sun to them both, it gives the impression that this full moon is very advantageous and opportunistic for those people who want to take chances. Not risks, but chances. The combination of Mars in Taurus and Uranus at the end of Aries gives a kind of stamina and a capacity for taking chances in a way that's grounded and down to earth with Mars and Taurus, but also with an element of risk with Uranus in Aries. But the trine and sextile from the full moon suggests that chances taken will probably work, whilst risks probably won't. But this is not all that's going on. At the same time, there's a triple conjunction in the skies right now, with Saturn at 16 degrees of Capricorn, Venus at 18-19 degrees of Capricorn, and Pluto at 22 degrees of Capricorn. So Venus at the moment, actually I think Venus is at 19-20 degrees of Capricorn now. Venus is halfway between Saturn and Pluto at the moment. Now a conjunction of Venus, Saturn and Pluto in Capricorn, I've never seen that in my life. Or if I have, it was a lot. No, I've never seen that in my life. Actually, it doesn't worry me, because contrary to what other astrologers say, and I'm not disputing their opinion, it's just that my opinion is different, as I get older, I consider aspects between Venus and Saturn to actually become positive. Not so much if you're under 40, sorry to most of you, but as you're over 40, Venus-Saturn positions, regardless of if it's a square, opposition, conjunction, or a sextile and trine, tend to give you a much more steady, solid, down-to-earth and grounded value system. It makes you realise that the only way you're going to get anywhere in life is through your own hard work, but there's no shortcuts, and that the principle of doing everything the hard way normally yields results. Add Pluto into the mix, and it gives a degree of intensity, yes, but also a kind of almost compulsive pattern, especially with Venus conjunct Pluto, of the willingness to push through and persevere in the face of challenge and resistance. Add to this that there's a conjunction of Mercury and Neptune going on right now, and this is continuing now for the medium-term future, the next week or two, as Mercury slows down in readiness to go retrograde. Mercury has entered already its own retrograde shadow. The Mercury-Neptune conjunction in Pisces is a really strange one. Mercury doesn't like being in Pisces because Mercury deals with logic, rationality and analysis, whereas Pisces deals much more with dream, intuition, imagination and fantasy, where of course Neptune is completely at home. Mercury conjunct Neptune in Pisces is a bit of an anomaly in that there is no sense to be made out there. There is no explanation or common sense or rationality for some of the things that are going on in the world at the moment. Yet at the same time, there is a kind of poeticness around things. Mercury conjunct Neptune people generally are very good with things like storytelling, imagination, poetry, anything that involves words and art. They're also quite good at self-deceiving themselves and seeing the world as being the way they want it to be rather than dealing with it the way it is. But at the moment, Mercury and Neptune together are sextiling the conjunction of Venus, Saturn and Pluto. So you have 5 planets in a big sextile. And the Mercury on Neptune and the Venus on Saturn and Pluto is the icing on the cake. Underlying this is perhaps the single biggest aspect of 2019. The ongoing sextile between Saturn and Neptune, which is going to continue now through to the end of the year. Saturn in its own sign of Capricorn, Neptune in its own sign of Pisces, and the sextile between the two of them, the aspect of opportunity, bringing the ability to structure the imagination, to change the imagination from fantasy into creative imagination. And also Neptune's sextiling Saturn, so the ability to round off some of Saturn's hard corners and change one's boundaries from concrete and steel into transparent rubber and elastic. So if you're one of these people who has a lot of planets around 15, 16, 17, 18 degrees of the cardinal signs or the mutable signs, then this Saturn-Neptune sextile is actually quite beneficial for you. It has a lot to do with Saturn in Capricorn, with the nature of government, and with Neptune in Pisces sextiling Saturn, it's bringing a sense of more flexibility, adaptability and new ideas into the notions of government. And I note, for example, in Britain, my own country, that just in the last 24, 36 hours, a number of members of Parliament have left the Labour Party, have resigned from the Labour government and are now standing as independent MPs. It may well be that today at least a couple of people from the Conservative Party join them, not in a new political party but in an independent group. And perhaps this is a sign of the new politics beginning to come through that has been on the agenda over the last few months. In America, the confusion of Mercury, Neptune and Pisces and the restructuring of power and the restructuring of organisation is shown by the fact that last I looked, half an hour ago, 16 states are now suing Donald Trump with his plans for the border wall and the national emergency. And of course he will win in the long run because the Supreme Court is balanced in his favour. But it will take a long time, perhaps beyond the tenure of his government, of his office. So yes, it's a pretty crazy time. And of course, with the full moon today, there will be tempers being stoked. There will be moral outrage and people making mountains out of molehills and letting things get out of proportion. You will note that the only planet I didn't discuss was Jupiter. Jupiter is the only planet not involved in a conjunction or opposition. Jupiter is square Mercury, Neptune. And I'm not a fan of Jupiter in Sagittarius, at least on its first movement forward until it goes retrograde, because it is stoking the fires of indignation and outrage and but then Jupiter always does promise more than it delivers and overreaches itself. By the time Jupiter starts going retrograde, and certainly by the time Saturn starts going retrograde, by the end of April, much of the mechanics and the manipulations of this year will already be over. And then we'll be left with the ramifications, at least through to November, December, when a new wave begins. But in the meantime, it's a full moon. And yeah, it's quite a healthy one. So go out there and take chances. Today is a good day. Go and have some fun. All right, catch you later, world. Bye.